North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. I'm scared already for my life. Brian Piercy here, along with Jeremy Cohn, Todd Otto, and Ty Otto. How you boys doing today?
Doing great. Great to be back.
Living.
Living, baby.
It's a great day to be a North Star on a Tuesday. Normally is.
That's true. Cohn, you might be a little close to the microphone. Just as always, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show, podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe to us on Twitch. Remember, you have those every 30 days. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime as well. And you're eligible for that sub towards the podcast. You know, we got free beer around the All-Star game. Other things can happen. Rate and review the podcast if you're interested in coming on the show. Look in the podcast lineup tab under stats.mnlhl.com or shoot me a message and we'll line up with a time. So I think we have one thing on the agenda real quick. Today I got a random text from a phone number that I don't know that had a file attached to it that was audio. It turns out it was a voicemail, and I think we should play it.
And they didn't
Right
call
off
the
the
whoop.
get.
They didn't call the whoop
Right off
line.
the
They sent it to you directly.
They sent it.
Why
to,
would they send it to you directly?
I don't know. They sent it to me directly.
It's a
Then they
trusted
sent a
voice.
message saying, "Hey, can you confirm
fan
you
base
got
is
this?"
growing.
And I think I said, "Why didn't you call the whoop line?" And they said, "You can't call the whoop line from heaven."
Oh.
Oh.
So
Jesus.
I think we should play it, kind of see what it says, and
Yeah.
we'll move on from there. So let's give it a shot.
Good evening, Monday Night Lights podcast. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking my call. I do greatly appreciate it. Yeah. Unbeknownst to many, I've been up here in the heavens with my main man, Mean Gene Okerlund, and the beautiful Queen Elizabeth watching in on all the action the last 4 years. Yeah. What a proud bunch of beer-drinking, mediocre hockey players you are. Thankfully, you've got a bunch of characters to keep it mildly entertaining. Yeah. Queen Elizabeth, who do you think the best of them all is? The North Stars? Wrong answer, sweetie. Try again. Try to think real hard. Yeah. Paul Proctor? Not even close. Never mind. It's the Macho Man, Randy Savage. He's the best wrestler that there was, the best wrestler there ever will be. And if I do say so myself, he hit a mighty fine slap shot in his day. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now go make me a sandwich, damn it. Yeah. It's been a wonderful season, and I can't wait to see who comes out lifting the keg in the end. Last night was the beginning of the end for the poor little duckies. I haven't seen so much choking since in 1986 when I crushed the rookie Dragon Steamboat's throat with the ringside bell. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they couldn't even get any oxygen all year long. It was a sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs. I'd almost feel sorry for the little duckies, but I don't. Not at all. Such in life as in the MNL, the cream eventually rises to the top. Yeah. Yeah. It looks like the Seals and the Americans and the North Stars are ready to stake their claim to the most coveted prize in old man, over the hill, out of your prime sports. The MNL kid, yeah. Like my old friend and sometimes foe, Hulk Hogan used to say, it's gonna take the prayers, the training, and the vitamins to get it done. And I wish all the teams good luck, and I'll be watching up above with my queen. But right now, I'm gonna have you excuse me. It looks like I gotta tend to some other matters. Looks like the Ultimate Warrior is trying to stick his ding-a-ling into Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, I can't let that happen. Yeah, peace out. Bye.
Oh, Macho Man.
Wow.
Our reach is getting... Wow, the Monday Night Lights is getting popular. It's
out of this world,
Holy
really.
shit.
Yeah, so the Macho Man apparently called us from up in heaven.
Okay.
I don't know what that was, but it was amazing, if anything.
That's a pretty solid impression, whoever it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was an impression. Maybe
That was pretty impressive.
I don't know.
Well, like I said, they claim that in the text, apparently a friend, they can send a message to voice audio and they can text it, but they can't actually call the Whoop line. Either way,
Maybe they don't have phones in heaven or something. I don't. Or
Yeah,
they can only
I don't know how it
certain
works.
people. I don't know.
Yeah.
apparently they don't have phones in heaven, but they have
Man,
tape
the Whoop
recorders.
line's
So
not
who knows? But either way, I think that was well worth the recording time.
Yeah.
Sam Mackey's got some competition.
Whoop, I think we're gonna have to work to get that microphone a lot closer to you. You're very echoey,
All
very
right,
off
all right,
base
all
there.
right.
So
Too loud, I'm too quiet. Tough boss over here.
keep it going. But anyways, so let's move on to our pick'em standings. Just wrap things up, or kind of go through there before we get to the games real quick. It's down to a two-man race as of right now. The only possible people that could win are Dylan and Troy. Dylan has 45 points. Troy has 42 points. Dylan actually has a worse week of 1 point, where Troy has a worse week of 0 points. So Troy's really only 2 points behind right now. They both have a max of 7 left. If you want to check out the full standings, just go to pick'em.mnlhl.com. So let's move on to the games then. I think that's what people want to hear. We had our main event, game of the year, we were calling it, of the year, the Nordiques versus the Mighty Ducks. The Nordiques won this one 2-1. We have goalie, co-GM of the Nordiques, Mr. Jeremy Cohn. Let's have you start out with a quick breakdown of the game.
Sure. I think that game lived up to the hype. I like to think it did. It was. I felt like the Ducks. The first couple shifts were everyone was just kind of feeling each other out. We didn't like. I don't think either team got a shot on goal for the first couple minutes, and then they kind of took it to us there for a couple shifts, and then we ended up getting a little bit of a lucky one for the first goal, and then second period started, and they controlled the puck pretty much the entire second period.
The first one was scored by Darren Cunningham, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think he took a shot on goal, and it kind of like stuck on the goal line, and then he just, as he was skating by, just swung at it, and it went in. So
Hey, goal's a goal, baby.
goals, we don't get very many of them, so I'll take it.
And then I believe, what was it, Ben came back and tied it up?
He did, yeah. He picked someone's pocket behind the net. I don't remember who was on defense at the time.
Alan Z.
Was it Z? And who picked the puck? Was it Sugar then? Must have been.
Yeah, probably was Sugar. Yeah, Alan Z made a little
Alan Z said it was his fault.
indecisive behind the net, and then we got mugged, and then it was ended up a goal.
Mm-hmm. It was a good goal. Beautiful shot by Ben. Put it right where he needed to go.
Yeah, then I know that I actually went and changed. I tried to go to the locker room a little earlier than I normally would and come back over. So the last couple of minutes, and then I got back with about 3 minutes left. And what happened there?
Yeah, that was so the score clock was behind my back, and so I tried not to peek behind me too much. So I knew Ben had a shot on goal that pretty good chance with about the 4 minute mark. So I remember I looked back and I saw that, and I was like, shit, man, they're controlling the play. They're gonna end up scoring a goal here. This is gonna suck. And then I thought there was far less time left on the clock. I thought there was maybe only about 15 seconds left, but Cunningham went from his defensive position all the way to the other blue line, caught the outlet pass, circled around the net. Big Gumma, just big boy going to where he's supposed to go on the ice, stick down and banged it in, man. He put it right where it needed to go. And I love it. Big fellas, man.
It seemed like a surprise to everybody. It was fired up moment. The Ducks ended up pulling the goalie at the
pulled the
end.
goalie.
They couldn't get anything. Now, Ty, you were the guest assistant head coach. I don't know. I don't technically know what you were.
I think he was
night.
the coach of special teams, right?
Early on in the week in the Ivory Tower, I offer a lot of things up, and believe me, none of them are taken. So I just do these obnoxious offers, and one of them was I offered to the Ducks and I offered to the Deeks if anyone wanted me to help coach during the big game of the year, I would do it. Obviously, I had no expectations that anyone would ever take me up on it, and then Panty, all of a sudden, I think it was the second time I offered, maybe it was the first, he says, "Oh yeah, you'll be the special teams coach," or something like that. I'm like, don't play with me. Don't mess around with me. Get me excited. He's like, "Oh, did I stutter?" I'm like, is he serious? So as I was walking up to Hazel Park, I'm like, no, he's not going to fuck. There's no way that was a joke, whatever. I'm just going to go sit in the penalty box like I always do and stretch and drink beer and harass the refs. Yeah. And Panty came up and he fucking handed me a uniform and gave me a beer and sat me in there. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm the coach. So it was, I like to think I, did my, at the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. And I felt a little awkward like saying things and shouting things out like I normally would on the North Stars bench or like I would if I'm coaching my kids' soccer games. But then, I literally started getting into it so hard. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm all of a sudden I'm a freaking deacon. I'm like living on the, the intensity of the game. And I was like, it was a lot of fun.
So would you say that you were the difference maker in that game?
Oh, God, Pierce, you don't put me on the spot like that. I think I had a positive influence. Do I think I was a difference maker? Did I fucking get in Guma's ear all game long? Yes. Did I tell Guma right before he went out, this is not exaggeration. I said, Guma, you're going to get a goal on your next shift. He went out there and got a goal. I was yelling at him the whole time to get his ass. He had no idea what the hell he's doing. Guma's a great guy. I met him for the first time. I'd never seen him, on the other without a mask on. And I introduced myself in the locker room. And then all game I was like trying to teach him outlet passes because the defense is just struggling out back there. They're getting pucks. They got no one to go to because the centers are battling trying to win pucks. And these wingers, like Guma, is just like doing nothing. So he'd be everywhere. He'd be deep in corners, doing nothing, like being the fourth deke in the corner. I'm like, Guma, you got to trust your teammates and go out for an outlet. And then I'd fucking start yelling at him. Once we get the puck going the right way, I'm like, go. Like him and Neville, I'm like, go. Get to the net. And so the last one he did. And so I was like,
So
I cheered louder.
The question is yes.
Yeah,
He was the
answer's
difference
yes.
maker.
I helped. No, I was a positive influence, and that's all I would say. So
Sometimes
there
that
you
goes a long way, man. Like people get tired of listening to Paney and I because I feel,
Yeah.
GMs of the team, you end up feeling like you're saying the same damn
like
thing
a
every
Lions
week.
coach. You're
Right.
white noise. You're just,
Yeah,
you know.
but someone else says it, you're like, fuck, I'm going to listen to this guy
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
But I definitely got in. Like I was full throttle. Like I cheered, and that I remember I looked down at Kim over. I'm like, holy shit, I'm cheering this loud for a deke.
Right, like
game.
fuck,
I was
we're going to do this.
It appeared
So-
to be a pretty solid game, back and forth. I thought if I had to give an edge from what I saw, I missed about a half to 2/3 of a period. I actually thought the energy was slightly on the Duck side. I thought Darren, those two plays, I thought those were really nice plays by him, but your defense held tight. You were making the saves that you needed to do. So, unfortunately, I think the big news out of this game is obviously the Ducks are now eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
How does that feel now going into a bye week, having that pressure off your back, knowing that you guys are in and you don't have to worry about that?
Well, I mean, it was if we would have lost it, we would have been where the Ducks are. So we would have gone into the bye week and our season would have been over. So I think it's good to have, and I hope. I don't know. We got a couple guys who weren't were watching the game. Did it live up to the hype? Was it the game of the season? Was there?
Well, like you
was
said,
there
the
enough drama
the first
there?
period was a little slow.
Yeah.
And then I thought I thought you coined it pretty well. Ducks actually won like 2 or 3 shifts in a row.
Yeah.
Didn't really get any quality chance of a kind of controlled flow, and then it was all deeks the rest of the period. But the period ended 0-0.
1-0.
Was it 1-0?
Yeah.
Okay. And then second period again was slow until like it was the end of the second where it was like kind of a flurry of chances both
Oh,
ways. And
We spent a little time in the box in the second period.
and then
We took
maybe
2
and then even
penalties.
and then the third period I think was a flurry of chances too. And then I was like Piercy, I left earlier than I normally do to get ready because I wanted to come back. So,
Yeah.
and I remember when I came back, there was probably about 3 or 5 minutes left. I'm like, was there still a bunch of chances? They said no, not really. And then obviously the end is what we saw.
The end of the game got real. I thought it lived up to the hype, but obviously I got emotionally invested. But Koner made some amazing saves in the third period. There were some ones, I was sweating. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
You came up with some big ones. So we had our own chances. So it definitely the third period was. I was on pins and needles. So
It was fun.
It was a tight game back and forth. I think the one thing about it is since it was so tight, it seemed like both teams were nervous, playing kind of on an edge. So I don't know if I would say like everybody was going all out. It was kind of like, let's not try to make the mistake that's going to cost the game. So
Right.
in some ways, it might have been a little bit more fun to have one team up by a goal a little bit longer to see the other team then have to, for like half a period or something, have to go all out and see what
take those
happens.
chances,
Yeah.
and because you're right, it was tied or it was only a 1-goal lead, so teams were kind of playing kind of like prevent and just waiting for their
There
chances.
wasn't a lot of clean entry into the zone. There was
No.
some stretch passes, but there was no clean entries when they were coming 2-on-2s or 3-on-2s. Just nothing.
Not a lot of
clean.
odd man rushes
Yeah,
and
nothing
stuff.
could get in.
It was
clean.
nice. I mean, for being a game that basically, it ended someone's season. It was clean. It wasn't. There weren't guys.
Joey tackled Sugar the one time. I mean,
He tackled
looked
Sugar.
like
You know
a
what?
hug to me.
Sugar plays rough. He always does, right? And he's gonna get his chances, right? And I told Brent, I'm like, dude, take that penalty, man. Tell him you're not gonna put up with his bullshit. He came through in the third period and he took my skate and my stick with him. And I was like,
family crime.
fuck this guy. And I just gave him a nice little cross check to the back, reminded him, I don't care if you're my brother-in-law tonight.
So now that we have 2 weeks left before the playoffs started, do we feel like it was a good idea with the 7 teams, one team doesn't actually make the playoffs? Did it make it worth it? It would have been nicer if it would another week or two, but I think it did add a lot of drama to this season. I think it was a good thing as far as not everybody makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
Last night would have been
it
like...
sucks for the Ducks, but I mean, it's excitement for the league, and it puts an emphasis on the entire regular season.
Right, and if we end up... If the rumors are true and we go to 8 teams, maybe Misery can have company
Those
next
rumors
year.
aren't as strong as I think you think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that'll be to be determined. There's mixed views on there. I don't think it would hurt anything. I think we'll get into that at a future podcast more near the end of the playoffs before we take a break. So I think we've touched on that a lot for the podcast land, so we'll kind of move on from that. But
I mean, like season 2, we did elimination, and the Deeks were the odd man out that season too. And I mean, it sucks, man, but it's worth it because last year was boring.
Yeah.
Last year,
No, it's fun. I mean, it was a playoff game last night. It was fun. A
Yeah, it
playoff game
was.
before the end of the year. It was great. So, I mean, if the Deeks would have lost, we would have had a little more, another week or two. But
yeah, that's true.
whatever. But wasn't meant to be. The Ducks had so many chances. I feel so bad for the Ducks. But then I'm like, God, you know how many times that podcast little standings that we breezed through at the beginning? No man ever picked more Ducks in that damn pre-seed that thing, thinking the Ducks are going to come through, and they just beat me down week after week.
I thought for sure after they won that game 6-0 at Thanksgiving, they beat us 6-0 at the second game. And I was like, I thought for sure that was going to be the turning point. I was like, we're going to go continue to dumpster dive, and they're gonna rise on up and end up being the team to take over.
Yep.
And I could see them. I actually had a chance. I thought maybe there was a chance where they could even leapfrog the Whalers at one point in time.
Right.
Because I think they then went on to beat you guys, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
The Ducks, they
They went on a little mini tear when
I don't
Turtle
want to say
came
they
back.
owned us, but they beat us 2 out of 3. One of them was a playoff loss, but they beat us 2 out of 3. Real quick, I do want to thank Mr. Pistol Pete for his subscription, his 4th month with Prime, and also Mr. Jeremy Drager, the panty dropper, 7th month with Prime with a Let's Fucking Go Boys in the comment. Also from Mr. Jeremy Drager, he thinks more teams should miss the playoffs than just one. Now, to me,
That would be us this season then.
to me, you probably need an even number
We'll
of
step up to the plate.
You'd either have to go 4
Yeah.
or you have to expand to an 8-team and have 2 teams miss. I
Yeah.
think my thoughts have been pretty clear on the podcast, so we won't rehash that. But let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the North Stars versus the Americans. The North Stars take this one 3-2. Coach of the Year candidate, Mr. Ty Otto, and Bender. Well, not Bender of the Year, just Bender. We'll have you kind of start your recap. I know Cone saw a lot of this game, so we'll go to him next on it.
All right. Well, as I left the bench from the Deeks, we were celebrating, and I was huffed my way, around the rink to the locker room, undressed. I mean, by the time I got to the locker room, I was completely out of breath, energy, emotions all drained, left it all out of the table coaching. I'm like, I don't even have any energy for this game. I reffed 4 games on Sunday night. I'm like, Jesus Christ, can I get a sub? I literally was desperate enough to think maybe Whoop can play for me, but then I remembered he's already playing on the other rink. So then I get out, I get dressed. I don't have a helmet. I'm like, oh, fuck. I got to go back in the Deeks locker room and beg for a helmet. For some reason, no one wanted to exchange helmet bodily fluids with me. They're like, kind of hesitantly, they gave me Brennan's helmet. It squeezed my brain out. Then I think I tried on Alan Z's. It was even tighter. And then finally, my brother from another mother, Suki, busts out his greasy, sweaty helmet and sticks it on my head. And I felt like Cinderella. It fit perfectly like a glove. And my North Star brother, it was a perfect fit. And I was so happy. Get on the ice, tired as hell, legs are jello. And I thought we dominated the Americans the first period. I think it was another one like the week before. Our first period against the Whalers was amazing, and we showed what was 0 goals. This one we got 1 early, thankfully. But I just feel like it could have been easily 2-3-0. So it's always just scary as shit when you're up against Proctor because he's going to get his little shit going on. If you don't have a 2-goal lead, it's like not even a lead at all. So. I don't know. What did we get? Then we ended up getting up 3-1. My favorite plays of the game. I think there was a penalty on Booker T. He got one, just a complimentary one, because you got to give Proctor a penalty call once a game.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was a good call, but Troy didn't on the bench, and Troy screaming at Rob at the top of his lungs, just like, and Rob yelled, "I'm on the ice." Rob goes, "You want 2 minutes, Ty? You want to get in that box?" And he's looking at him. I'm like, "Rob, I'm right here. I'm on the ice." Ty thinks it's a good call. He's like yelling my name out at the bench, threatening to give me 2 minutes and put me in the box. I'm like, Rob, Ty thinks it was a beautiful call. Ty's here. That was Troy. It's like, Troy, that son of a bitch. He's like, calm down. So I had to, make sure we knew which Otto was giving him the earful. It was not me. I told Rob, I'm an innocent guy. That's Troy's the loud one who thought it was a bad call.
Didn't the little ref give a penalty for that last week?
I don't know if he did.
It was for your game, didn't he? Didn't
Yeah.
he give someone from the
Chris Taylor,
Seals?
like 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
For
yelling at
Robert
little
or
ref.
Joe,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah,
It was Joe.
I obviously didn't see that one, but I can see. Rob was ready to do it. His face was red. Rob's normally a cool character, and I've reffed a lot of beer league games, and we hear a lot of bullshit. And but his face was definitely ready. He was ready to pull the trigger on Ty Otto, the wrong Ty Otto. But other than that, it was a great game. They gave us a scare. They got up, but the best part about the game was like the last minute. You just expect Proctor to just flood us with chances, and it was like they didn't even get it out of our zone. We got like more scoring chances than them. I think they were all, word on the street was that they were all like cherry picking. They thought, but nobody was back there to defend, and we just kind of skated it out like the whole minute, and we just like got a shot, get the rebound, skated around. So it was a good win. We did what we had to do. I thought it could have been a 6-5 game instead of a 3-2 with the amount of chances for both teams. But the goalies played well. So that's my take.
And
Jay-
Cone,
Jay
you
Flo
said you
gave-
watched a lot of this game. So
Yeah.
what did you see here?
J-Flo gave the Americans a chance in that game for
Yeah.
sure. He had a great game, and I think Officer Aaron, he wasn't too sure if he was going to play at first. 'Cause
Really?
He fucked up something in
Oh,
his
yeah,
chest
yeah, I
or
heard.
something like
Yep.
that. So he's like, "Hey, can you be on call?" So I kept my shit on, let him do warm-ups, and thank God I didn't want to play.
Back-to-back weeks, you had to keep your gear on. for
I know.
warm-ups.
Oh yeah, I really didn't want to play the second game last night though. I was exhausted, and so I was kind of watching him a little bit just to see how he was doing. He said he was kind of hurt, but you wouldn't know it, man. He played
Yeah,
great.
he played great,
He absolutely robbed Manny on when they were on the power play with the glove.
Yep.
Manny had the wide open net. And he just stuck it out there. And snagged
Aaron
it.
is an amazing specimen of a goalie. He can give you a heart attack with the simplest shot. Will have the most awkward rebound going here, there, everywhere. You're like, what the hell is going on here? But then he will just stone cold flash some leather that you're like, how did the hell did he even save that shit? And it just boggles my mind. And as far as J-Flo, that's the thing. When you get a bunch of chances and you don't score, or you only score one and you should have had 2 or 3, it almost feels like you're just getting the other team's goalie in a groove. Like it just felt like I got scared for a while, and it just 1-0 because it's like we should have more. And J-Flo looks like he is just, we've get him the perfect rhythm. Like he's just doing all this
You've
stuff.
taken a lot of shots, but they're low percentage.
Yeah,
And it's just,
so
he's
he's
seeing
just
them all.
perfect. He's feeling the groove. So luckily we were able to put some more in.
So speaking of this game, we did get another voicemail about
great.
this game. So,
good. I like
perfect.
voicemails.
So let's play it, see what happens, and we'll comment
Is
on
this
that
from
coming
one
up.
from Earth or from heaven?
Hey, no spoiler alerts.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
let's play it
Well,
and find out. So
Asking.
Or maybe Italy?
Maybe.
Oh,
The Grandma Gio. So nice to talk to you boys again. I see the Otto boys are in the studio. My Gio, he loves the Otto boys so much. And I'm happy you enjoyed my lasagna. But maybe next time, instead of 4 or 5 servings, maybe just 1. A little health and wellness with my sweet boy Gio might be good for you, eh? Now, I'm calling to talk to the man bun. He's such a beautiful boy. A beautiful man bun, sexy body, makes the Italian ladies go wild. But he's so stupid. So stubborn. How long are you going to keep picking against the North Stars? You got 1 more week to not look like a bozo. So, who's going to get the second place bye? The Americans or the North Stars? I'll hang up and listen. Ciao, ciao.
Grandma Gio is back. I believe that is for the 3rd time. I think it's possibly our top voicemail Whoop line caller
Yeah, she has been.
coming up.
Yeah.
You know, Grandma Gio, I can tell you like what you see. I don't know if Grandpa Gio's still around, but if I want to be respectful to the Orlandi family, but if not, give me a call. I don't know.
She's checking up on you all the time. She's your podcast picks, and obviously you picked against us. I see. I'm assuming from her call.
Hey, who can I say? But yeah, I mean, obviously you guys took care of business there. That's a good thing for you. We'll be going over playoff scenarios. I figured a bunch of them out coming up. Things are looking better for the North Stars than they did. Playoffs are still Americans control their own destiny still. The North Stars do not. But I think there is a good case that you could say that the Americans could definitely fall to fourth as well. We'll go over that shortly as well. I think it's very possible. So I am swaying a little bit. Obviously, the North Stars are the team that has more momentum going for them. But I really do like the talent of the Antioch, Proctor, and J-Flow. Those guys right there. They have Starback on defense. If they have those guys going, they're going to be hard to score against. And they have guys like they have the. It's really nice when you have a guy on your team, one or two guys on your team that just can do something by themselves and score a goal. I still don't. Well, Pete can do that for the North Stars, which is good. But there's a lot of teams that still don't have that, are kind of missing that situation.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Fair assessment.
You're saying the Americans can fall all the way to fourth that's if they lose out, and I don't.
I think you said that about the North Stars.
No.
You said that about the Americans.
We have some playoff scenarios that we're going to be going over a little bit later. I went through all the games, all the scenarios, had that figured out. But the Americans are not locked into third place.
We only have one more
any
game.
means.
So that's against the Ducks.
So we'll go over that a little bit later. Let's move on to our last game of the night. We had the Tigers versus the Whalers. Do you have something to say?
No.
I'm
preparing for this.
I was going to say one thing about that. Sure. I was going to say there's the Tigers. Next week is janky and for us, but the Tigers play the Americans, and Ryan Allen has not had a healthy situation going on with the hernia. It looks like he hasn't had any procedures on it, so I'm assuming they're going to need a ninth rounder, and that would be the Deeks on bye, so that'd be Drago. So I'm going to be texting Drago that there's no way to play, so I'm hoping with all God's power, maybe I'll get the Macho Man to call up the Tigers and have them sub for me so I can get a little American action and be on the Tigers. I don't know if I can handle 2 games because then I got to take down the Ducks or whoever shows up for the Ducks, but that's my interesting thing. I want a piece of the Americans via the Tigers next week.
Real quick, I would also like to thank PushPop454 for a subscription, a Tier 1 subscription.
Oh.
So we always appreciate your support as well. Make sure you're following as well.
Grandma Gio.
But back to the Tigers Whalers. Tigers took this one clear victory, 7-1. I'm not going to start out over here. We had Mr. Whoop Auto, who he was a sub for the Tigers. So
+3.
+3.
You're kind of
Brian line and Slicky Rick or Tricky Rick wasn't even on our line.
You're kind of a neutral party, semi, whatever. Let's have you start out here.
Well, I mean, 7-1 speaks for itself. It was Whalers didn't show up. They had a bad attitude. They took the wrong attitude. They took the, I don't know, like they were upset about the sub, and they decided that rather than take the underdog role and try to shock the world, they took the defeatist attitude. Whoa, Whalers, us, and they didn't play. It started off, I mean, Tigers controlled the whole game. They got the first goal from, what was the first goal? Oh, the super sub scores the first goal on like their second shift of the game. And it was kind of
First
from the top.
shift of the game.
No, second shift of the game.
I heard it was 30 seconds in.
No. So it was a third shift of the game because they went them, they didn't score. Then our line came out, we didn't score. Then they came down and scored and made it 1-0. It was like just a kind of a nothing coming down the right-hand side. There's like a defenseman there. He shot the puck. I would think Cam probably would want it back. And basically it zapped their energy. Then Grindline came out. Crunk scored a beaut. And then Slick Rick, they stopped him and then came out next shift. And Crunk scored another one and it was 3-1. Or 3-0, sorry. And the Grindline Crunk had scored 2.
Yeah.
And they were still whining about the top line. I'm like, top line, baby. It's the Grindline show.
Yeah. No, that's awesome when you can When you get guys like Kronk scoring goals, that's always a good thing.
So, and then from there, the Whalers did score to make it 3-1. Peso scored, so Peso was probably happy that they lost 7-1 and he got a goal.
He got the only goal.
Good game for Peso.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had a power play at the end of the second period, and the Grindline started the power play and was just terrible. It was, Lepoudre dumped it down the ice, Hedis played it, then misplayed it, and then they had a couple of quality chances and couldn't score, and then somehow we got a face-off, I don't know, in our zone somehow, and there's like 30 seconds left, and we did a line shift, and Hedis is just like, stop the clock, just run the clock, so we keep the 30 seconds on the power play for the third period, but they dropped the puck, and Taylor wins it to Slick Rick. Slick Rick fires Taylor down a seam pass, and he scores from like just inside the blue line with just an absolute rocket that popped the Gatorade bottle and it was 4-1, and game was over.
So I guess I'll, as being the other player here, I'll kind of give my take. First, before I go into any tangents, I want to say the second line beat us 3-1 itself. So
3-0.
Well,
We scored 3 and gave up none. The star line scored 4 and gave up 1. So both lines were plus
maybe it's
3.
not even. I was on the ice for 3 goals. I was on the ice 3 goals against, and I was on there for 1. So I was a -2 on the night. So as far as defensive pairings, I was a -2. You could say star plus whatever. But yeah, that line, like they beat us on themselves. So it's hard to say that. But Rick, he was probably a first rounder. We'll go over some of this a little bit later, so I don't want to go into that. Serta, he actually got a penalty about first shift in, 20 seconds in. There was a whistle. I think it was an offsides call, and he had a slap shot. It was late. I can't deny that. It was late by a good amount. Apparently, it hit Hedis in the nuts. He went down, so that's never fun as a goalie.
A late slapper by Serta hit Hedis.
I heard Hedis say something about this in the party deck.
So they whistled. They called the offsides,
Yeah.
and then Serta, I don't know if Serta hit it or wasn't thinking. I mean, then he came all the way down to like the hash marks, and he didn't rip a side. I mean, he fired a shot in. We didn't rip, just fired a shot.
Either way,
reasonable speed and hit Hedis in the nuts.
It was clearly late. He got a penalty for it, so I cannot argue that.
Yeah.
They went down. This is why I think the first goal was on the first shift. They immediately came back down, and Rick, just past the blue line, probably the top of the circle, fires one in the corner. It could have been saved. It could have not been, but it was a very nice shot.
I heard it was a fucking laser.
At the end,
It was not a laser.
At the end of the day, Rick, he's got his Lance Cruz or whatever the heck. Where did Matt Taylor play?
De La Salle.
De
De La
La
Salle.
Fire up
They have the
pilots.
matching pants. They were on the ice together. They were moving, shaking,
Yes.
going
It
all
was
around.
very pretty to watch.
It was a ridiculous sub up.
If you've played high school hockey,
I don't disagree that it was a sub up. It
Yeah.
was a sub up, but the Whalers still didn't even come to
I had a pretty crazy day yesterday. So in executive when they're talking about this, but looking back on it, I should have said something because if you played high school hockey, you're probably too good to be a third rounder.
Serta and Edge played together in high school, but it was a shitty team, East Detroit.
Well, that was 20
That's
years.
East
That was
Detroit 20
not
years
3
ago.
years
That's not De La Salle
All right.
5 years ago.
Notre
Or
Dame,
M-
not East Detroit.
Just say okay, boomer, or something
Okay,
like that.
boomer.
All right.
But Ringer Rick, he had 2, I believe. Matt Taylor had
Ringer,
1.
Ringer, Rick, we got another one. I'll take it.
We had Shep had 1 on their side as well. Crunk had 2, and Skillman, I believe, had 1. Crunk's goals were nice goals. They were trying to get him. It's funny in the last, be able to look at it joking now. They were trying to get him the hat trick with about 2 minutes left. They were trying to feed him down low and everything like that. So, it's kind of not fun at the time, but looking back on it, it's like I don't blame it. I'd like a hat trick as well.
Yeah.
So good for them on that side. Crunk's second goal, I blame on myself. It was a kind of a 2-on-1 situation. I took the first skater and I let that pass come across. I should have left it a 1-on-1 for the goalie, but those are so hard to do.
Let your goalie take the shot.
It was my fault. I admit it. I played it wrong. So
So stupid, like Gino's mama says.
there goes.
Grandma
The hard part about those games, in my opinion, is you see those two out there, especially that first shift. We get a penalty. They're out there buzzing.
They didn't score, though. You killed off that penalty.
No, they scored on the power play.
No, they did not. This is fake news. We did not. They did not score the first shift of the game. And then we came out, finished off the power play, and we didn't score either. Then they came out right after and scored.
Hashtag trust.
Guaranteed.
Any,
We were mentally in the game, baby. The Whalers never showed up.
anyways, I personally think when you saw that, it kind of just deflated us a little bit.
yeah,
I'm not
100%
trying to make
deflated them. It was
I'm not
just the
trying to
third
make
shift of the game.
excuses or anything like that. Like I said, that second line did beat us, but that was not fun and it wasn't cool.
Were
Peso
they-
did get his goal though.
Were they line mates too?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
no,
the
they
whole
were.
time.
They played together, and
Oh,
they
jeez.
tic-tac-toe.
We should have never let that happen.
They didn't even,
and
let, they didn't
why
even play him like Slocum, like on
Yeah.
the on the
Right,
all
yeah.
alone
Put
with
him
the
on the other
benders
line.
on the
Yeah, but
second
right,
line.
right.
They just said, "Fuck that." We're
Yeah.
Well, I told him that after the game, and I'm like, you should have played them together if you wanted to come back. Maybe it wouldn't look so pretty.
Shady
Keep
fucking
the Taylor
Tigers,
brothers on the
man.
first one. Stick them with some benders, and if
Yeah.
you can just be a +2.
But the second line was better. They
maybe-
finally figured out, like last week when we played the Tigers, they put Crunk on defense and Myers up, and they had no rhythm with the Crunk, Skillman, or Taylor center, Skillman and Myers on the wing was a great line.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
all
Skillman
I
and
know
Crunk.
is about 30 seconds to a minute in after they scored that first goal, and this is part of the Whalers' problem actually, was people are coming off the ice and they're like, that fucker's never playing in the league again.
Oh,
So
Serta's been angry the last 2 days. He's so angry
He's
in the
been
Ivory
very-
Tower.
very angry.
That was
Very
the
angry.
most angry I've ever seen him.
And
Like,
he even threw out.
was-
He said, "Dude,"
Yeah.
and I almost dropped my phone. There's some point he was like, "Dude," and I'm like, "Holy shit!" 'Cause
Yeah.
Serta just
So,
comes
yeah.
in and he does a business like, "You're wrong. I'm right. I'm smarter than you." And then, but he was throwing out dudes.
And he
and
just
I
dropped
was-
like the dude, you're wrong. And I'm like,
that guy was clearly
was not the
too
proper
good for the
attitude to
sub
try to
position.
shock the
But
world.
yeah, like I said, in a lot of ways, the Whalers, our attitudes were bad on that because after that first
Yeah.
goal, we're just like, F that. That guy's way
Yep.
too good.
It was
It was
over.
almost like we put ourselves in a losing
Mm-hmm.
attitude after that first goal, which is a bad thing on our part as well. Not to say we weren't trying,
Yeah.
but it was also just like, what the hell's going on?
I remember playing in the first subgate with Poopy Pants, and it was the Deeks were the same way. We're like, who the fuck is this guy? And he just like showed up and just completely ran the game on us a couple years ago. So
I mean, Seals had a similar situation this year when, no Jim Ellis, where Simonelli, who the hell is this guy?
And I don't know. It sounds like he's Matt Taylor's buddy. I don't know how much Skillman knew about that. Like, if you could say you're blaming it on a Skillman, but it's also Matt Taylor's like, hey,
So
my
I-
buddy's in this range. Do you believe that? I've really only talked to Matt Taylor briefly for one time. Obviously, he's a really good hockey player. He seems like a nice guy. I don't
Yeah.
think he'd purposely be like, we're going to rip through here. At the same time, the rules for a playoff eligible person from outside the league says they have to play in 3 games. I really don't think Matt Taylor was going through the rule book saying we got to get this guy in to try to make sure he's eligible to try to take the league as well. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's-
if they did it completely wrong. I mean, we can be thankful that the game basically meant nothing in the scheme of thing. And we can be
Yes.
thankful for that. So that-
technically, it did mean a lot for the Tigers, though. When we go over that later,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah.
But you
Maybe
weren't-
in there.
both teams are guaranteed a playoff spot.
correct.
So
and
it-
realistically, for the Whalers, technically there might have been a chance for us to get the 3rd seed, but
Yeah,
it was
it was far.
very, very low where it wasn't happen. So
Yeah.
if it was going to happen to any team, it's probably best that it happened to the Whalers because we probably had the least on the line there. Not to say that it couldn't help the Tigers out in a later point to
Right.
get to that 3rd seed, but it's not like it's really going to screw the Whalers when it comes out to it, except for just being a little bit pissed and
Yeah.
kind of crying a little bit.
And there was a lot of subs in our game at the 9:00 game, and I'm really thankful that the subs didn't steal the narrative for that game.
Well,
Because
I
that would
mean-
have really sucked if like that guy would have come in and been stolen the show, and the Whalers don't get to make the playoffs.
Well, I mean,
because
to
of
be
it.
fair, for a while I thought Whoop here had put the word out for all the Seals to fuck up because Pfister was on breakaways and falling on his ass. Alan Z's coughing up.
yeah.
Alan Z's coughing up the puck and giving it to the other team.
He'd rather play
I
the
thought it was a
Ducks.
Seal conspiracy. I was about to keep all the Seals on the bench and say I see what's going on here, but then they started playing better. I could tell Alan Z was legitimately upset with himself, and so I'm like, okay, you didn't do it on purpose. Pfister didn't. I'm like, Pfister, are you fucking flopping out here on purpose? What do you got to do? What are the Ducks paying you? We'll double it. But I used common sense and figured it out. So there you go.
So I think we're going to move on, which is kind of related to this game. It's the subtopic. I
Okay.
think it's a big thing,
Yeah.
at least in our locker room after the game. I think there's other talk. I think it's a relevant subject coming up with the playoffs on the line. So obviously Slocum, he moved, and that sucks for the Tigers. Just looking at things real quick, he was actually the 16th pick overall in the 3rd round. Players drafted right after him or put in those slots. We had Turtle, we had Cunningham, we had Rattler, Peso, and Gio kind of to fill out that round. There's a lot of people saying that if you were to draft today, Slocum, he'd probably be drafted a little bit higher than that.
Yes, I would put him 9 to 12 would be his range, I think.
Okay, I must be completely sleeping on the Tigers. No offense to this guy, I couldn't point him out in a crowd. Like, I don't think he's made that big of a difference.
That's your fault, big time.
Yeah,
Really?
You are missing something big. Slocum,
And I think
one of the Fister's the face of the face of MNL now.
Right.
Slocum should be right behind, but he's a little more quiet. He's
Yeah.
on the
And he
tight.
missed a few games.
He's not on the Whoops team. His
Right.
loud Whoops team.
Right,
He's
right,
got
right.
Ryan
Slocum
Allen
was
and
also
Skillman.
on fire going into the All-Star game. I think he technically missed the cutoff. He might have got in after a couple people
Nobody
were
knew
able to
him. Yeah,
make
that was
it.
a snub
But there was
of
also a lot of people that were like, how did he not make it? And it was
Yeah.
one of those things about, well, voting came in a couple weeks ahead of time. He scored a bunch and was on fire those
Got a
last couple
hat trick.
weeks that kind of got that towards him. So
Sure.
he had that kick where people were like, holy shit, this guy is a real deal as of now.
He's
I
normally on that second line with
Okay.
Benders, whether before the trade, after the trade.
So maybe that's why I
And he-
don't, because
yeah.
as a goalie, I think of guys like, does this guy scare me when I see him coming into the zone?
Yeah.
And I think maybe when I think of the Tigers, I think the Taylor brothers.
Yep.
Nope.
So it's like a
He's-
it's a little
he's
relief when you see that
definitely
second
got-
line.
Right,
but
yeah,
he
I'm like,
carries that second line
Okay.
single-handedly, and I don't know if they've adjusted it since, but most of the time he's not with anybody, and he's a piece of work. He's good.
He's
Is he?
definitely
Yeah.
got some speed. I want to say game number 1, I don't really remember seeing him very much against the Tigers, but game number 2 was like, who the fuck is
That's
this
what I
guy?
thought. That was how I
came
felt
out.
when I got off the ice. I'm like,
Well, he probably missed game
that's
number 1
Slocum,
versus you
eh?
guys.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So real quick before we kind of move on, let's look at the rule book of what it says about rosters and how to
Yeah.
handle this. So rosters are locked into players as they are drafted and will not be changed with the exception of trades within the league and subs on a week basis. If due to circumstances and a player has to leave or is ejected from the league, a replacement player at the suggestion of the player's GM can be approved to join the league/team for the rest or part of the season by voted of all the GMs in the league. Long-term replacements aren't held to the sub-rule listed below in number 10. We all know the sub-rule essentially has to be below. So essentially it says if someone moves or is ejected from the league, that team's GM can try to get us long-term sub.
Right.
It says nothing about draft position or skill level, but it has to be approved
By the
rest of the GMs.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of had to go through that when we officially knew that Panty wasn't going to be able to play this season. And so we trialed a couple guys, and Dougie was like, hey, my boy Guma, he's interested. And so, he did a couple sub games, and we found him. He's close to Panty. I don't know. I think Panty might be a little bit better, but it was,
They're
you're
similar.
never going to find the exact player. But
No.
we didn't do enough homework on this guy. I mean, I can't believe Troy didn't pull up the hockey DB on him. I mean, that's,
Well,
that's
we did.
the
I mean,
Troy classic.
I sent a text to Matt. I'm like, is there a chance he's going to be too good than Slocum? His response was, Slocum's pretty damn good. And this
And we
guy's
agree
better
with
than
that.
this guy's a little better than Slocum, I think.
So
But-
I personally,
But they've also, sorry to interrupt, but him and Matt Taylor also played on the same line for 4 years at De La Salle together.
At a high level
And
high
so
school
that's
hockey.
what was just like
yeah.
the chemistry. They knew exactly where they were going to be. It's like they're just doing their little come in, circle behind each
Dipsy-doos
other,
and-
dips, and just like the chemistry was just off the charts.
So-
and then you're faster skaters than the defensemen around you for the most part. And
I think where I'm going with
the
this
one.
topic is I think it's pretty obvious from everybody's reaction. This guy's way too good to be Slocum's
Not
replacement.
way
But
too good, but he's too good.
He's
Yeah.
too good to be slow. But I think there's also just general, kind of the rule, looking at the rule. Let's look at the rule and not compared necessarily to this guy because I think a decision's kind of been made on him. But I guess my question is for a long-term sub, and you're replacing a guy, should you be able to fill that sub based on the skill of the player that's leaving, or should you have to fill them based on the draft position and those players around them? Because if you have a guy who's missing a game, you have to go back and you could actually get a better player if he's drafted later, but he's around that skill level. Or if you
But
find
then that
this,
goes both ways.
Well,
Because what if
hold
the
on,
guy's
hold on.
worse? Then do you replace him? That way. Do you if you draft him in the 6th round, but he's playing like an 8th rounder? Then
Right.
it goes both ways.
but I guess the question is someone like Slocum, someone who's considered to be more of a steal of the
steal.
draft. Should you be able to replace him based on that skill, or should it be closer to, well, if we don't have a long-term sub, we have to fill in with these 3-4 guys. Here's that skill level. Let's try to find you someone at that skill level. But then you know that guy's going to show up every week. He can build some chemistry with the team. At least you know what's going on.
So I view it as if you got a guy, he's on vacation, whatever, the buy round rule is probably the best way to go. It's simple. You don't have to think about it. It's whatever. But you can't penalize the team because one of their draft picks moved. You know, like that's totally unfair. Like they can't control guys having to move away. So I think we should try to find the best available player. The problem is that it's 2 weeks before the playoffs.
Is it the best available player compared to that player?
Compared to
the
that
draft
player.
slot?
I think
Because
it's
Because
just
that
common
player.
sense. It's the fairness of the league. You
Yeah.
find someone. You're not gonna
It's a gentleman's
go
league.
way up, but you try to find someone.
So, and I think we got the perfect situation here with the Ducks are already mathematically eliminated. I mean, can Turtles slide in there or Ben or somebody
Well,
like
that's the
that?
thing. So it's like, yeah, Turtle would do it. Ben could do it if they want
Ben,
to.
Would Ben be too good? I don't know. I mean,
Ben is not too good in my opinion
Yeah.
for Slocum.
So
it sounds like this guy should be a second rounder next year if he was playing next
Slocum
year.
was playing, yeah, he'd be a top 12 pick.
Yeah.
Ben went 12.
So my personal thought is I think it should be almost like the same, like you're trying to find someone the skill level essentially if
Yeah,
it was a
with about
short-term
16th overall.
person. So like you should be looking at the Turtles, Geos, Cunninghams. If you can find a long-term sub that's in that range,
Yeah.
do it because that still gives you the advantage compared to a short-term sub every week of we can build chemistry. We can have lines, we can kind of get to know each other type of thing. So it's more advantage of your team compared to if you are, you find a long-term sub and it's still is like it's more advantage if you find someone at that skill level of those other guys compared to if you get a steal of the draft type of thing and you're just like, Matt Taylor went in the third round. Like now we get to find a B League player for a third rounder and be like, no, that's BS. And I can see how it can go both ways. That's just my
That's where
personal.
we gotta use
Chemistry,
common-
I totally
we have to
agree
use
with you,
common
man.
sense.
Beginning of the season, we had Panny was hurt, Brennan was hurt. Every week we were pulling in at least 2 new defensemen, and it sucked, man. So chemistry 100% goes a long way. So they got 2 weeks to figure it out. I mean, what about a guy like who did you guys bring last year for the playoffs? Choden?
Choden.
Right? I mean,
To be
would
honest,
Choden be good?
So that actually just
Because I thought he was a great player.
I honestly got I absolutely agree with you. Even though Serta in the Ivory Tower is basically called a big freaking idiot because he's like it's got to be draft round equivalent, and I think that's absolutely garbage. I mean, what is draft round equivalent? It's like you're trying always to do the best. You're trying to outdraft everyone and do things, and I don't see any reason why to penalize somebody for injuries or somebody moving. And so I absolutely agree that you're just you shut your eyes and you try to find the identical player. Like I see a Sugar and a Pistoler. Sugar's the younger version of a Pistol. And now that I think about it, like if I was to think of 2 players in the league that are who's identical to Slocum, I think it's Andy Fem is the most identical player to Slocum in
High
style and
energy.
everything. High energy, not highest skill, not highest vision on the ice, but speed, can score.
Not giving up on the
Obviously, he's
play.
not available. But that Choden is actually,
That
I
might
honestly
be.
think that's a
Choden
home
would be
run.
nice. Has that
Choden,
been
Slocum,
discussed?
and Fem
Choden's-
are like
Yeah.
very, very similar.
Because I remember playing Choden in the playoffs. I mean, he never gave up on the play. He was fast. He didn't have the greatest hands in the world, not the greatest shot. But
Yep.
he was a great passer.
Yep. I think that's a win. Like Skillman should consider that. I think he has time on his own, but he blew. I think basically what they did was blow a week. They blew a week, brought in a guy that's not
Some
going to be
dude.
acceptable, and they're guilty of burning it. It's not Skillman. Skillman and Ryan Allen can say, I don't know, but guess what? You know what? We only have a couple weeks to
You
left.
run the team.
It's so as far as
Well, and they got
Turtle,
screwed. Spizak was supposed to play again last week, and he bailed at like
Right.
3 p.m.
Right.
Because he was
and
sick.
there's another thing here. It's obvious. There's a couple things that are obvious. It's obvious for some reason because I think Ben or I think if we had the draft right now, who would go higher? Ben, Turtle, Slocum. I think you could argue that Slocum would go ahead of both of them. Not everybody would agree with that. No, I'm not saying everybody.
I'm
saying
good with that
of
personally.
a lot of people would do that.
Yeah.
So I think you can put Ben in there. Now, one thing is evident, Skillman, because I can tell the way he's in the Ivory Tower, for some reason he thinks he is really undervaluing Turtle and saying he doesn't want Turtle. Otherwise, he would have jumped on the Turtle thing. He hasn't even mentioned trying. I threw the Ben idea out there, and he didn't latch onto it at all. And he's totally getting away from the Turtle idea, which I think he's I think Turtle is a completely different player than Slocum. Turtle's not speed. He's not laser. He's not going to burn you, but he's a very smart player.
Very smart.
And I think Skillman, to be honest, is making a big mistake in not taking Turtle. I think you plug Turtle in there, you've got a very good hockey brain out there, and he doesn't see it at all, obviously.
Turtle with a line mate of Skillman who's got a good shot. Oh, he'd be hooking him up with passes all day.
I think Skillman should he could appease everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And not that you want to appease. I don't want to appease Serta because I like egging Serta on and getting him to call me names. But we want to make the best decision for the league. And honestly, right now, the Choden thing is just perfect, or the Turtle. You just take the Turtle and a guy in the league who we love. Everyone loves Turtle, and he loves playing free hockey because a lot of times he just subs on teams and plays every week for free and doesn't pay. No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. No. But everyone loves Turtle. He can get an extra hockey, and it's a guy we know. Yeah. There's no surprising. But
so the other rule we need to consider, and personally, I don't care if the GMs. To me, a lot of like the rules are like, oh, it has to be this guy or this guy. Like to me, it should be like, oh, it has to be 3 or a round or the next guy's below or pending opposite team's approval. Mm-hmm. There's a rule that says a guy from outside the league has to play 3 games to be eligible for the playoffs. Something like a Choden or whatever. If the Ivory Tower says, yeah, cool. I personally don't care. But I just want to mention there's that 3-game rule there. For the playoffs. Spizek, I believe it's pronounced. I know Peso, he said he thinks he's better than a Slocum. I'm not sure. I think I remember from a drop-in, but I don't want to fully judge because I don't know if it's the same guy I'm thinking of on that situation. 30. So it's hard for me to say on that side of things, but it kind of feels like Skillman's kind of pulling a Troy. You know, he's like it's like a Graham thing. I'm bringing in Graham all year. Now I'm bringing in Choden.
Graham's over here. Graham's over here. Then
Slocum left. I'm trying. I have.
And then he's got his mathematic reason as to why it works.
Completely. There are so many examples. I'll make this real brief because I really don't hear. There are so many examples of when. And speaking of Graham attack, this is number 1. When Graham came into the league, we were the North Stars, was the Serta North Stars for Trecht, Walshy, all those guys. He came in and he played on a line on forward with Serta, and they lit it up for 3 games straight. And all I heard was, Graham's so good, Graham's too good, oh my God. People fall in love with the shiny new toy. They play 1 or 2 good games. Now Graham's a piece of shit on the stick. Everyone's like, Graham, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying in everyone's eyes. But Graham, if we had the little pins in the ivory tower, they would show Graham's way too, it's just Graham's so amazing.
People were trying to say the same thing with Gumma for Panty. They were like,
exactly.
Oh, he's so good.
You have a couple good games, and people fall in love with the shiny new toy. Yeah. And then it's just
especially for subs, right?
Exactly. So you can't fall in love, and you can overrate people. And Choden. So the point was, Choden wasn't, dude. We won. The General came back for the game 3 against the Ducks, and we won. And we won because he scores. He's slow as shit. He doesn't do shit. He doesn't back check. He doesn't do shit. Guess what? He put the fucking puck in the net. Choden never did. He skated around beautifully and did shit. If I wanted guys that skated around beautifully and did shit, I'd take Piercy. But no, I want people who put the puck in the net. That's the bottom line. That's the end stat that matters the most.
I think you're giving me way too much credit here.
Yeah, it's not that beautiful. But I mean, it's more beautiful than it used to be.
So before you move on, because I know we got some playoff looks here.
Playoffs.
One thing I did suggest for the managers today for our summer meetings is let's implement a rule where after the All-Star game you have to go with a verified sub. The games start mattering more, or after the trade deadline or something.
It
after
sounds like the summer meetings.
Yeah, it's definitely not something we're going to implement now, but it's something that's going to talk at the summer meetings and say.
And realistically, that's a tough thing because. How many times are you bringing in subs from outside the league? How many times do you hear people complain? And I tried to get.
I disagree, man. Like straight up. There were so many players that they could have grabbed last night instead of Ringer Rick.
Oh,
who's your third rounder?
No, I'm talking from outside the league. I'm talking from outside the league as far as a ringer or from a verified sub.
Why don't I know that? I don't know. Shawnee, Pfister.
Is it McShannock?
Rattler, I think.
Rattler.
But yeah, when it comes down to it, I'm talking about people from outside the league, from verified subs, and that's on our fault because how many times do we bring in people, first of all, from outside the league? How many times do you hear people say, hey, I got my boy here. I want to get him in the league. But how many times do you see we have a Saturday or Sunday drop-in, we got, 15 guys show up, but all these guys that want to get in the league can't show up for those. Like, if you get those guys starting to show up all the time for those,
Right.
you verify them,
Like
half the
Peso's
league
gotten his
sees
boy
them.
Spizak in.
Exactly.
Stuff like
You
that,
do
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's how you become a verified sub, where we need to, as a league, be better about that stuff as well. Where, I would prefer us to do stuff like that. If we expand to 8 teams, you have the Gumas, you have the people who have subbed in that you kind of earn those spots. But then, next in my thing is hey, this guy showed up for 5 Saturday skates.
Right.
Give him the opportunity compared to you see a guy who skated once or twice in a drop in that's okay, yeah, now he could ship the league, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Before we leave the topic of subs, we did have one more voicemail.
Oh, how lucky us tonight.
Oh, my
man.
God. Time off. Let me grab a drink.
So,
Sit back and relax.
So I'm going to play this real quick, and then we'll see what it says.
I hope it's from Serta.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. It's a first-time listener, long-time caller here. Your Misfit Sub King 22. Calling in to give my advice on some subject matter that really touches, my heart in a deep way. After being banished, the prodigal son returns in all his glory to offer my impartial services to the power-hungry, corrupt GMs of the Ivory Tower. I'm the only impartial one. I have this power, and this is what I was meant to be. I love it. The only way to have the perfect subsystem is to use the Succubus 2000 at Skillman's house. You load up all players in the MNL, and whoever comes out is your destined sub. Do you get a number 1? Do you get a number 5? Do you get 100? You have to change sides and serve the other team? Who knows? But that, my friends in MNL, is the only way to have a fair and just subsystem. Your 22 King Solomon signing off. Good luck, boys.
I love it. I would actually have 2 though. I would have round 1 through 5, and then 6 through 10. Proctor. That's Proctor.
Was that Proctor?
That was Proctor
yeah, that
for
was
sure.
Fucking Proctor for sure.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 through 5 have just a random lottery thing with the balls. Bloop, 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 bloop. And then the bender, the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So it's at least a little. You don't want to fucking 10 for a 1. A little bit. But other than that, boop, completely random. Fuck it, I deal with it, motherfucker.
Deal with it.
Roll the dice.
Win without sin.
Then who's gonna be then how much pressure is that? I gotta work tomorrow at 7:30, so I can't make it. Well, guess what? That GM's not gonna be too fucking happy.
That's great. Proctor
Well,
Tutu.
unless we're feeling lucky and we hit the lotto, then it's good call.
That's fun.
Paulie just wants to sub a few more times.
I'm just slightly offended by that voicemail. He kind of inferred that he's the one to hold people in check.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy,
we got the trusted
offended.
voiceover here.
Do I have an
be
offended meme?
careful.
I got a bunch on my phone. I can text some offended memes.
Yeah.
Offended, not offensive. Ty.
Snowflake emoji going.
But yeah, thank you for the voicemail, Mr. Proctor. Real quick, moving over to the power
Trusted voice
rankings.
isn't even in the Ivory Tower. What the hell? It was a shot at the tower, not the trusted
I
voice.
think it was a shot at the tower.
Either
But he's
way,
offended for us.
power rankings. We got the Seals, North Stars, Americans, Nordiques, Whalers, Ducks, and Tigers. Power rankings don't matter, so we're going to move on to the standings. We have the Golden Seals, who've locked up the President's Trophy with 36 points, followed by the North Stars, 31 points, Americans, 28 points, Tigers, 25, Whalers, 21, 18 for the Nordiques, and the Ducks, who are eliminated with 12 points. If you would like to see all of this, watch our YouTube video on youtube.mnlhl.com. We have stats that are flashing across the screen. So let's move on to the playoff scenarios. We'll go through real quick kind of the best and worst playoff spot for each team. Then we'll go to the kind of scenarios. Seals, they're going to be number 1 no matter what. We have the North Stars, a 2 or a 3 best and worst case for them, followed by the Americans. They could have a 2, 3, or a 4. The Tigers, we have a 3, 4, 5. Whalers, 4, 5. Deeks are 6. And we know the Ducks are eliminated. So, like we were saying before, the Seals, they've clinched President Trophy. Great job by you, Mr. Otto.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the art, but I believe it's baby, we're back. We're back. You can blame it
we're
on me. And we got the feather on the caps. We play for kegs, but franchise 2 President trophies. Gotta like it.
So now we're going to move on to the number 2 seed possibilities. We have the Americans, who are currently at 28 points. We have the North Stars at 31 points. I do believe the North Stars have played one extra game.
True.
Both teams have a maximum points of 34 points, but the Americans do have the tiebreaker if they tie in points. The Americans, they do play the Tigers and the Whalers. The North Stars, they have the Ducks. Right now, my thoughts are to get the 2 seed, the Americans are going to have to win out. Ty, what are your thoughts?
The Americans play the Deeks next week, and they play the Tigers. And like I said, I'm just dying to get the call up somehow. I'm hoping Ryan Allen's out, Drago declines, and then they somehow find the love in their heart for the 1-0 because I already subbed for them. Like I said, we've got to do our job. I'm freaking scared next week. We do not have Doc Hollywood. He's out. We have Suits. I don't know where Suits is at. I heard he did one of our skates. I heard he looked like the normal Suits, but
he did.
Again, it's like drop-in styles normally just different from games. Like I feel different during drop-ins than a regular game all the time. So he's not 100%. He says he's about 80, 85. So instead of a Doc Hollywood, I've got somebody who we haven't played with in a long time, and he's not. I don't want him to press it for his own sake. It's like I want to win this game more than anything, but I don't want this guy to go out there and hurt himself more. So I don't know exactly where he's at, and as far as playing more, he's going to hurt himself. He's a doctor, so I would assume he's got this kind of calculated in his brain, but he wants to do it. Who else? We're out. Gio's gone, so I don't know exactly where that puts us in the sub situation. If I'm on game 2 and I get my dream of playing with the Tigers, I'll be on my game 2. And then it's the situation on the other side. I don't know. I feel like Graham is always out, because he's got Trump's just ruining his life and making him do all these things. So where does that leave us? We've got a mishmash, unhealthy team, tired legs, and we're playing a Ducks team. So who the heck? Ducks are out. Who shows up for the Ducks? They're minus Sugar.
No Sugar?
No Sugar. They're trying to get Proctor in for
Gonna
that.
go see Mickey Mouse.
And so I don't know who they're gonna bring. I don't know who they're gonna bring in. I can't believe he's going to Disneyland for the 100th time. That's mind-boggling. But hey, to each their own.
At the end of the season too.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I mean,
hey.
poor planning. Like, why don't you plan your wedding on the Michigan State game or something like that?
Right.
But something like that. Those are bad decisions. But so I don't know what the Ducks are going to show up like. I feel like some Ducks are just going to say fuck it and get subs, and so we got a losing team here. They're going to bring in subs that, what are they going to do? Call in a bunch of Americans or something?
No, they got to call in all the Deeks.
They got to call in Deeks, and I don't know what we're
Not
against.
this Deke though.
No,
I don't know if they're all going to show up. I don't know what we're going to be against, and I don't know what we have. So it's a scary game, and that brings together Proctor. Proctor wants to sub for Sugar. I am the only one in the ivory tower who, from the beginning, thinks Proctor should just be able to.
I like Proctor to sub. I'm not anti-Proctor.
Well, no, I mean, I think it should just be a rule, and flat out he can, because we have enough players that are good enough, and the teams are good enough to insulate. When you have a bunch of shitty teams and you're so much better than and dominating, then it's obviously something. But we've added good players. We have more insulation, so it's not just one player doing it. And I don't think the Americans are tied for second place just because of him. I think they have an amazing defense with Edge Star, and they have an amazing goalie. I don't think it's all Proctor this year like in years past. So with that being said, I think he should be able to sub freely. But hypocritical Ty right now, being put to the test, can he sub for Sugar next week against us? I'm saying hell no, because he wants us to lose because he's the one competing for us for that last spot. And I don't know what we have, and I don't know what I'm going to be against. So I'm actually reserving my decision on that till later on the week till I see exactly.
Isn't
what
it funny how down the stretch you start to look at not only who's available but the matchups and who wants who to win? Because there was a couple weeks ago where we should have asked a couple Ducks to sub, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that. They want us to lose.
Right.
I'm not saying someone's going to throw a game, but
last podcast I was here with Ryan Allen, and I bet Dougie Fresh. What did I say? Oh, I bet that the Deeks were going to beat the Tigers. And so in the ivory tower, it all worked out. He needed a sub. I was the required ask, and
Right.
he tried to veto it because I was on recorded podcast saying betting against the Tigers, so he tried to veto my subbing. I negated the bet with Dougie, and then I came out and then I scored on.
I think
my
you
own- I
scored.
scored a
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
That might have been the game winner. I'm not sure, but
So,
scored the goal.
So we just ran a Twitch poll about who would get the number 2 seed.
Okay.
Results are 100%. People
1%.
in our chat think that the Americans are going to get the 2 seed. Now,
Wow.
based on those scenarios, Cone, what's your opinion on that? Essentially, the Americans have to win out against the Tigers and the Whalers. The North Stars are just playing the Ducks left, but the Americans have the tiebreaker.
Can you pull the standings back up? So I want to give you 2 answers. I want to give you who I think will do it, and who I would rather who I want to play, because I know I'm locked in at the 5th spot. So I think the North Stars can hold off. I really do, because I think, like you said, the Ducks aren't playing for anything next week. I think they're just gonna have a bunch of dudes on that team, and
That are North Star fans.
yeah, and effort. I don't know. I've been in that position. I'm not playing for anything anymore. My effort level is going to be pretty low. So I think you guys will take that W. Selfishly, I want that to be the case because I don't really want to play you guys right off the bat in the wild card game, because we beat you guys game 1 and we subbed up in multiple spots, admittedly. And besides that, you guys have kind of taken it to us. We haven't had a full squad since the trade, so maybe things will be a little bit different. But I'd rather play the Americans in that first spot. So that's what I think will end up happening. I'm hoping will end up happening.
I think the North Stars get the 2nd spot as well. I think they take care of business, they win,
Yep.
and I think
Who do the Americans lose?
Now
a
the
point to?
Americans. Oh, I was going to
Who's
finish.
the Americans
So then
have
the
what?
Americans have the Tigers and the Whalers, and they could win 2-0. I just could see them just
So
if I had to bet, I'd take the North Stars. I think the Americans could either lose game or just if they lose 1 point, they lose. So
Yeah.
I think the North
What's-
Stars take care of business, and the Americans will drop a point.
What's the season
Somewhere.
record with the North Stars and Americans right now?
Then if they tie, the Americans get it. That's why if they both, if North Stars win out, they have 34 points. If Americans win out, they have 34 points, and the Americans
Americans
get
are
it. So the
easy to
Americans
drop a
have
point.
to drop a point. But I think they will between the Tigers or Whalers. I think they drop a point somewhere, and I think
Whalers
the North
are
Stars
so
wins.
bad.
But
Whalers is like a bye
with that
week.
said, I'm not shocked if the Americans get in. But if I had to bet, my money would be on the North Stars.
Ty, I remember the last time you were talking shit about the
No, I played on the Americans.
about the Whalers. Next time we played, we wrecked your guys. You guys didn't even come out and
God,
play.
I hope that's why I'm inspiring you. that was an inspiration. I'll try.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's a good
No,
stretch here
I
going
see-
down, but I can see the North Stars
I can
pulling
see
it
it
off.
going either way.
Because and that's amazing what the North Stars have been able to do, because right about Christmas break, there was a serious piece of me thinking, fuck, these guys might not make the playoffs. Like these you guys might be the team to not
We
make
lost
the
our
playoffs.
first
Crazy
all 3
is if the-
preseason, and we lost our first 2
Yeah.
or 3 regular season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
If the
it was
Tigers
not
beat
good.
the Americans, that's where it gets really interesting. I
was
hope
gonna
that
say,
Tigers Americans game's at 9, because then they're all at 28.
Oh shit!
And
Yes,
that
it is
gets,
at 9.
yeah.
It
So
is at
man,
9.
that's a big game. If the Tigers can
So
get
so
all
let's
3
move
points,
on.
it's huge.
Let's move on to the 3rd seed scenario.
But wait, I just want. How many people were in that poll for the
10.
100%?
doesn't matter.
10 people. One. What was it? 10 people or one?
It was just Grandma Gio.
It was one.
It
We
was
all thought the Americans were going to get the 2nd seed. I'm like,
yeah.
it was,
it was
mul-
Proctor.
No, it was Grandpa Gio. He doesn't like you guys.
I will say multiple people voted in the poll, so it was not one person.
Good.
Moving on to the 3rd seed.
We need an official temperature poll.
2.
If the Americans clinch the 2nd seed, the North Stars clinch the 3rd seed automatically.
Okay.
They already have 31 points. Tigers max is 31 points, but the North Stars already have the tiebreaker. So the worst the North Stars could do in any scenario is a 3rd seed as of right now. So that's good news. But if the North Stars get the 2nd seed, this is where things get interesting. The Americans have a max of 34 points, but the Tigers have a max of 31 points. This coming week, though, the Tigers play the Americans, and the Tigers already have clinched the tiebreaker over the Americans.
Shit, so they could still technically leapfrog all the way to 2nd.
So pretty
Wait,
much,
you're saying the Tigers are 2-0?
No, Tigers
against
can't get to 7
Ti-
though.
the Tigers are 2-0 already against the Americans.
them? I was wondering how the Americans lose because we always got our asses beat until last night.
So
Right.
if the Tigers beat
We went 3-0 against the
Seals.
Americans.
There you go.
if the Tigers beat the Americans this week, the Tigers control their own destiny for that third week. Last week of the season, the Tigers play the Ducks. The Americans play the Whalers. So I'm going to say the winner probably of next week's game is going to get the third seed.
I agree. I agree with you, Proctor Piercy.
There's a lot of people who thought
Get
the
me in
Tigers
that
were out
game.
of that third place thing, but when you
Yeah,
look at
I
it,
didn't think it mattered.
essentially they
Nice
win
slick
this
Rick.
coming week. They now control their own destiny.
And that's what
But
brings
controlling
up.
their own destiny, getting to third place. I mean, they're not.
That-
They can't get a bye.
I guess the question is it that much different between playing the Deeks and the Whalers?
Hey,
No.
Hey, we beat them last time.
I
No,
said
I
question.
first
I
game-
said it. I said it's a question. I said it's a
First
question.
game we only
If-
lost 1-0.
In a one-game
look
thing,
up what,
anything
look
can
up
happen.
how we played them the second game.
I fully believe
Who?
there's no difference, and that makes me feel
Tigers.
better about the whole subgate yesterday. Because if there was a huge difference between the Deeks and the Whalers, then then what you're saying, taking the
Yeah.
easy
You
victory
beat the
with
Tigers
the.
last time.
Yeah, we did it in
Shootout,
round
4-3.
3. But round 2, I don't remember who.
We also have who's better on the podcast poll just came
They won
through
4-3.
with 100% of the vote. The winner was Troy against Pistol Pete, Ty, and Todd. So people like Troy.
and one person, Troy voted. All votes, Troy. How many people were in that? You won't give me the net number.
There was actually 4, so no one voted for you.
Fuck you.
But yeah, so then when we go to the fourth and fifth seed, I'm not going to really count those as any different. Home away doesn't matter in our league. There's no difference there.
They play Kesha louder when you're the home team.
Essentially, the Whalers, they're going to be one of those teams, and whoever doesn't get the third seed, so it's either going to be Americans, the Whalers versus the Tigers, or the Whalers versus the Americans in the first round of the playoffs. We know sixth seed is the Nordiques.
Yep.
They locked that in this week. I think that's a positive right now. You know, your sphincter gets a little bit tight when you're not sure if you're going to make things
Right.
or not. So now you guys have another week or two to kind of release,
Just sit
breathe,
back and watch
feel a
and
little bit
See
better.
who we're going to play.
And then, unfortunately for the Ducks, they have now been eliminated.
Who would you guys rather play? Because it sounds like there's 4 different options for us. I mean, the battle for third is up in the air so much, but you're pretty much locked in. You said Tigers or Americans, right?
Oh, I'm not giving any
come
bulletin
on.
board material.
No.
when it
I
comes
said
to-
I said who I'd rather play. I don't want to
Who'd
play.
you say you play?
I don't want to play the North Stars. I'd rather play the Americans.
Oh, we can't even play the North Stars, but I'd rather play the North Stars than those other teams. Like
Yeah.
to me, the North Stars. Don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but they don't. Especially if Suits, I'd prefer Suits to come back. I feel like he's easier to play than Judge, or I'm sorry, Hollywood. But they're the team I'd like to play the most out of any of the seats. We can't possibly play them, but they just, to me, they don't have that. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Pistol's the
People kind of
fourth.
forget Pistols on that team now
Yeah,
too.
Pistol's the
it's-
fourth. To me, Pistol should have been drafted fourth. He slipped to the second round. You could say, oh, him and Fem, who cares? Doesn't matter. We know Fem's going to miss some games, so we're going to draft him either way. But I thought Pistol was, kind of screwed in that draft. But then
Right.
again, you have the Serta, you have the Trent.
Right.
So when it really comes down to you have 4. What was Fem 5?
Fem
Who was
was-
5? Who was 5 there?
5th overall is Shawnee.
Yeah.
Okay, Shawnee. So you had essentially keeper. So it was either
Best two
you're
available.
going Suits there or you're going Pistol there, one
Right.
of the two type
Yeah.
of thing, or a Fem type of thing. So it does make sense. But to me, Pistol's still the 4th best player in the league. So very good trade for them. Kind of brings us back to the point. Since we have a Nordique GM, how did that trade work out for you guys?
I don't think we haven't seen our team at its full potential even yet, because after the trade, Cunningham missed a couple weeks. Now we've been without Fem for a couple weeks. So we haven't seen what the squad is fully capable of. But having Cunningham back for the past 2 weeks, we've had a little bit of a glimpse into what it's like, and he's so good defensively. And he's good. He doesn't need the breakout pass because he'll just take it himself.
He watching that game, Brennan. I mean, I love Brennan. I started my hockey career at age 37 with Brennan. but watching him play defense in front of you yesterday was one of the most. If it was, I'm so thankful as the coach of the team yesterday that Cunningham was his partner. I mean, watching that guy just go. I think he's played too much with Whoop because he is like. He's in perfect position guarding the back door, and there's Sugar on the back door, and he's perfect. And then for some reason, he'll just be in the freaking left corner chasing down, like double teaming some other player, like evacuating. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he won't stop. Like, it didn't like click in his brain to like, I'm good here. This is where I need to be. Back post near Sugar. And he'd just be everywhere. I'm like, he was giving me a heart attack on the bench. But Cunningham was there. Just I'm like, okay, Cunningham's there. He sees it. Cunningham's like, I ain't moving. Don't worry, coach. Don't worry, coach. I got it. I see this crazy fucking Canadian going everywhere, whapping people, checking people. Like, it was.
That's what I love about him, though. I mean, he brings the physical play.
I
to
like
the team
that part. But
we don't.
Our
defensive core is very.
His floating is just insane. Go ahead.
So the trusted source has to ask you one more question.
Sure,
Cone.
of course.
Are you aware of your sub situation week 1 of the playoffs?
Are we aware? I hear Cunningham has a family vacation.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Whoop and JoJo play pretty good together.
He's hot.
You chemistry, baby. You're talking about it.
Yeah, that's a little different.
He will stay in front of the net like Cunningham and
He
let
will
Brennan
stand
do
right in
his
front
thing.
of me. You know, it's all good.
Fuck moving defenseman.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking. We're gonna be on the lookout for who we can bring in as a good sub there. But
Just being a good guy, making
I
sure you're
appreciate
aware of the
it, yeah.
situation.
So what? It's the in-laws got a timeshare down there or something, or what's the deal?
Sounds like visiting Stephanie's family. Cunningham's parents and
Is that who
brother
was at
were
the game?
actually they were in Viking Ice Arena this week.
that.
Oh,
watching the
really?
game.
Yeah.
Oh man, no wonder he scored.
That's the secret. We gotta get him. Gotta get the
Gotta
parents
get the
out to more
fans there.
games. Yep. Was she there too?
Oh yeah, Stephanie was there as well.
Gio had the fans. He scores.
Yeah.
Crunk had his kid and the wife. The one game
Man.
he scored.
He scored,
I
yeah.
bring the fans, and
Gotta
it's just
bring
that
the
natural
fans.
instinct.
Speaking of,
Uncle Fister's there every week. Oh,
going into last night's game, Danielle's been banned from Viking Ice Arena because I've lost every time she shows up to a game, and so she tells me I'm already fucking stressed about it. Right? It's the game of the season. I don't want to lose to my fucking brother-in-law. Like I've been stressing about it all weekend, and then it's 6:00. We're sitting down for dinner, and she goes, "Oh, me and Sammy Sweetness are thinking about coming to the game." I'm like, "What the fuck?
I saw her.
You're banned from the games. You're not allowed. Like, you're not fucking. Well, have the guys. They'll stream it for you. You can watch it from home, and everything's fine." But
And she was
showed up.
there with
She was there with
Sugars.
Sam, yep.
Yeah, I saw him up there, and because they yelled down Michelin Man because I had
Michelin man.
I had the
Star
Deeks
Stone was the
over-
backup goalie.
I had the Deeks uniform over my head, very
did.
heavy.
That is a very
padded
heavy,
jacket.
yeah.
And they go Michelin Man. I'm like, it's Cone's Cone's wife and Sugar's wife. So I didn't mean to give him the finger.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, family there is sometimes good, but man, sometimes it just adds a little bit of extra stress.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That was like talking to Stephanie and my aunt and uncle. She was like, "Oh, I usually try to make the 9:00 games." I'm like, "Yeah, newlywed over there. Eventually, you'll be like, nope, not. I want my time. I can read
yeah.
a book.
The fucking Bachelor's
I can
on,
go
you
to
know?
sleep. Bachelor's on. all that good stuff." So, I think as of right now, we're about a hour 20 in. We don't necessarily have to go over every game or meeting in the schedule, but let's go over next week's games right now. I think, to me, the game of the week, we have the Americans versus the Tigers. We already talked about the importance there. We have the Mighty Ducks versus the North Stars, and we have the Whalers versus Seals with the Nordiques on the bye.
Huge game there at the end.
Damn it. 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
9 o'clock, right?
Jumbo is the Jumbo
one.
playmaker, Batman and Robin line.
Yep.
I believe the
The
Americans.
Whalers
and
should be
Ti-
afraid of that line.
Yeah.
I
They
believe
might not allow it.
the Americans and the Tigers are the 9 o'clock game. Usually, I just copy from the schedule. The top one's usually 9 o'clock
That's
game.
perfect scheduling there.
If that is the
time.
case, based on the way that orders up, I think the Whalers have now 3 games in a row on the NHL ice, which I prefer the Olympic.
I think we're back on the NHL versus the Ducks. I think you're on the Olympic.
I could be wrong, mate. I don't know. So,
I don't
No,
know.
we're NHL ranked.
but yeah, like I said, to me, the game of the week.
checked today.
I think
Did you get official approval from Serta and Trent? Am I allowed to play?
We're subbing down. We're loosey goosey's in, so
Oh, okay.
it's all above board.
Okay, just got to make sure.
We're subbing down for the Whalers,
Sub
giving them their
down.
opportunity. And yeah, we
Cocky
are
Seals.
on the NHL. Yep. Cocky Seals are back, baby.
So real quick before we leave, the Americans Tigers, I'm going to call that the game of the week.
Definitely.
Obviously, with the Tigers, they win, they control their destiny to get that third seed.
Yep.
Who do you have winning that game? And I guess the other question would be is who's going to be that sub for Slocum? Because I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
right.
it's not going to be Ringer Rick.
Right. I'm gonna go Tigers. I think Hedis will have himself a game. Hedis tends to when the spotlight gets brighter, he tends to show up play a little bit better.
Spizak's going to be the sub, I think, as long as he's playing.
This is the podcast for two. This is Skillman. I'm talking to you. You bring in Turtle.
Does
and
Skillman listen?
Skillman, I don't know if you
No,
will. I will
I
tell
don't
you.
think
I will send you the little link for these couple seconds. Skillman, listen to me. Turtle and I have chemistry. Bring in Turtle. Make the league happy. Do the right thing. See what you're going to have. And I have amazing chemistry with Turtle. Turtle, when he's a North Star, we win every game. Spizak in. What a fucking dick. You know? Fuck this. Who is that? Him or is that Troy? Whatever.
Well, you might as well everyone
anyway.
wants to see Spizak again to give him options. I mean, there's nothing
All
wrong with
right,
having
bring in
options.
Spizak. I'm sure I'll have great chemistry there. Well, get me in the game. Get me out there. I'll beat these Americans to a pulp.
Yeah, right now I think I have to take the Tigers, which actually, according to Grandma Gio, would make me actually give that second seed to the North Stars because Matt Taylor, you get him a good player out there. I felt like he's been picking it up. Last night he was there.
Super
it's not-
spicy take. I was gonna say something along those lines. Is I don't think we've been seeing Matt Taylor at his peak performance.
Really? You think he's been
I think there's an extra gear.
Yeah, it's tough. I
pretty
mean,
scary?
I know.
I don't agree with that.
like,
No,
No, I think he's giving max effort out there.
no. I'm not saying he's not giving max effort. I think there's a little bit something left in the tank that we haven't seen.
He's a good player. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. Good player every night, all season.
he's a good player. I'm curious to see how it'll happen down the stretch, what he looks like. I've said it from the start. He might be too talented for MNL, but let's give it time. Let's see. He seems like a nice guy.
He's got sick hair.
Yeah,
Great hair.
the hair's
fucking
great
hair.
as
That's why
well.
Pierce doesn't like him.
Yeah, right.
He's taking away his hair award away.
I'm not intimidated by anybody's hair.
Look, have you ever seen
Also,
the movie Kickboxer? This is a straight out kickboxer.
Super quick. I don't know if he's still there. I was kind of surprised. Give a quick shout out to Mr. Jeremy Cole. He made it sound like he listens to the podcast. I was kind of
cool.
surprised by that. I do like it. So
Text.
hopefully he made it this far,
How y'all
either
doing
live
down there?
or
I would
listening
be
to the
honored
download.
if Cole, if you are out there and you have made it this far, this goddamn podcast. I appreciate it. Your North Star love is even greater than I even thought it ever was, and I never doubted you for a second. He was a true warrior.
He was.
I mean, and he admittedly had some, he had some temper tantrums out on the ice, and I know he doesn't like me bringing it up because he's on Facebook, and I know he's completely like more of a meditation kind of guy, and he does all those Ironmans, and he wants to get past those amazing battles with Sugar where like
Oh, they
literally
used
like
to battle
swinging
like crazy.
sticks at necks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Classic. We shared some of
I
those on
realize
videos.
that if you're listening, I mean, I those are going to be my good memories of you, and I realize you've turned the page and you're probably the cleanest guy in Texas hockey. But we love you, and I appreciate all your contributions on Slack and watching the podcast if you're out there.
Yeah, wrapping things up. So the season, we don't have a whole lot left. Still could use a couple guys next week as far as we kind of have our main crew, but love to get extra guys out here. So if you're interested in joining the podcast for a week, let us know. Looking to do a few new things. I'm looking to start an actual website for the podcast as well that people can go into. Looking for possible Skype connections that would include video if we want to have someone like a Jeremy Cole on it with some video as well.
Maybe Chad.
Chad can get his butt from Ann Arbor. Same with Charles. That's in my radius for that type of thing.
Can I ask one question? Like, I thought one of the best parts about last season and the finals was Chad's pregame was the video leading up the Deeks. I mean,
That was
that
cool.
thing was the fucking bomb. And Chad not showing up, there's a little less drama out there, but we miss Chad. But I feel like, do we have enough video where would even accept the I just would love to have that to be a tradition, and I don't know if anyone else could step up and do it. I don't even know if we don't even have the same kind of coverage and photographs and video, but that was the best
I agree.
thing.
That video was
so
great.
sweet.
I think it was
that was the best.
There
thing.
have been a lot less photographers this year.
Yeah,
it was a strong song.
We need to get some pictures for the playoffs. We need to get the photographers and the.
All right. Well, I'm on the buy it. I'm playing the 10 o'clock, so I'll bring the camera out for the 9 o'clock.
I think we're lacking pictures compared to last year.
We have to give them
We're
something to
lacking
work
some
with,
videos.
whoever it is.
That video by Chad, I think, is our second most highest rated video on YouTube.
What's our first?
The Monday Night Lights theme song.
Okay. Yeah.
And then second on YouTube is Family Matters 1.
Those
are facts.
That might
Those
be
are-
that
those
might
are
be
facts.
third.
Trusted.
It's hashtag trust.
Verify that. Did we call Matt Taylor?
I think you turned your microphone off, Whoop. You look at the little switch. But as always, if you're interested in joining the podcast, just send me a message in Slack. Fill out the form at stats@mnlhl.com. Leave us some voicemails on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. We had 3 voicemails today.
Record.
All classics. Macho
Takes a lot
Man.
of pressure off the tail, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to call us.
Hey, listen. This is I've been on the podcast I think 3 times now. It's a lot more fun after a W. A lot more fun.
And it's nice having a little breaks with the call-ins.
Yeah, I like the voicemails, and I like I like how we have the top 2 contenders for the Essence of Otto Award here. I don't know who's can Whoop 3-peat. We'll see. We shall see.
Oh, God.
Sober January's been treating them.
I don't
We
want
just want
it.
another keg of these 2 feathers.
After that poll of those 4 assholes, I don't even want to fucking win it. Fuck you.
And realistically, one of my goals every week is to try to. It's always nice to get a person that represents each game.
Yeah.
To see that, the hardest thing I think for the podcast is where you have, 3 people total, and it's like, and now this game, it's like no one saw an inch of that. Like that's a tough thing. So we always try to spread the love around. It's always a bunch of fun. Like I said, give us a call. Whoop line 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe on Twitch. You have Amazon Prime. That means you have Twitch Prime available for you every 30 days. You can subscribe to the podcast. Help out the league. Give us that extra money to do extra things for the league.
One more comment. Are we leaving now?
This is usually the outro.
This is
If
the
you-
wrap
if you
up. But
keep-
if you have any,
If you keep dragging it on, he'll just play
I
the outro music
Well, I just
like he did to.
I wanted to thank you very much, all my viewers out there, from the Macho Man, Randy Savage. I love you all, and I am the heavyweight champion of the world, the Intercontinental Champion, and Brutus the Beefcake Barber. You'll never take me down. See you later.
So for Piercy, for Cone, Todd, Ty, and the Macho Man, I think we are over.
We out.
See ya.
Pierce, you want me to autograph?